And welcome everybody to another episode of the Tech Talk for Accountants show. I'm your host, Andrew Lassise with WriteWorks IT, specializing in the accounting industry. And with us today, Maya Weinreb of Solvency Now. For anybody that's listening online, she is giving the Raising the Roof, which when was the last time somebody has I can't think of the last time I saw somebody actually raise the roof. So well, we're going to dig into her journey running a remote firm, misconceptions with bookkeepers and CPAs, topics that obviously are hitting home with a lot of people. We'll probably go off on a tangent talking about travel or something different. So we'll start from the beginning. When was the first time you saw somebody raise the roof?
You mean like this, like doing this thing?
Oh, yeah.
No, I feel like you're calling me out for being a millennial right now. Like, we do our hearts like this, and someone introduces us, we go like this, and we go woo woo. I don't know. I mean, this is what is it? What am I supposed to say? Like skibbity toilet or something now? So yeah.
Ah, is that what the kids? I don't know what anyone says. I thought it was a joke that there was like a Saturday Night Live sketch and it's like, this is what the kids are saying now. And I thought it was just a joke. And my nephews, they're like, I don't know, 13. They're like, yeah, it's like coming out of pocket or something like that. And I was like, what? It's like you got
Yeah.
no Riz.
You're like,
That-
huh? I don't know, but you don't need Riz because you're married. So who needs Riz
yeah.
when you're married? But yeah, it's
Yeah.
the thing that they don't totally understand, I guess, the youngins is, and we probably felt this way when we were their age, is that all of the words that they're saying have a derivation and they meant something. So like Riz comes from charisma, you know, and so like I feel like if you have a pretty good grasp of the English language, you can go, oh, I kind of see it, And sometimes in slang, we like things mean the opposite, like bad means good and good means bad. And they're like, oh, you're kind of mid. And you're like, okay, mid, I get it. It's like middle, you know what I mean? But but yeah, we were probably that silly too, where we thought we were so cool, but nobody could understand us. So
Yeah. Or something gets lost in translation, like the game Flappy Bird, which was big maybe like 10, 15 years ago. Like the creator took it off the app marketplace because people were DMing him on Twitter and they were like, I'm gonna kill you. This game's so addictive. And he was like, oh no, he's like Filipino. He's like, these people are giving me death threats. And it's like, no, it's just like I like this game. Like
oh
ah.
no.
And literally, you can't get it anymore, according to my nephew, because the the creator was just like, I'm getting all these death threats from this game. I never should have done it. So anyway, yeah, we
The
tangent
worst is
tangent number one.
I have some virtual assistants in South Africa that help with marketing and stuff. And they confuse that. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. They confuse the shit out of me sometimes because they say, okay, I'm going to do it just now, or I'm going to do it right now. And that doesn't mean right now. That means I'll do it later. And I'm like, tell me what you really mean. Because when you tell me right now or just now, I think that means now, not later. And they're like, oh, I meant tonight or in a few days. And like, no, tell me what you really mean. Or I have to tell him, he said he emailed somebody and he said, oh, I have a nice spot on my calendar for you. And I was like, you sound like a serial killer right now. I don't know, but that's just wrong. You don't say that. I don't have a nice spot for you on the calendar. Just say you have an availability. And he was like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah, everyone in India, when they're conducting business, says bro. And everybody in China, when they're conducting business, says hello, dear. And like
that's
one
so
time,
confusing. And the Filipinos, what do they say that I'm always like,
sir, they say sir a lot to me. Do they do sir, ma'am with you?
yeah, but they also say by the way as the beginning of every sentence. By the
Hmm.
way, ma'am, you have a blah. And I'm like, that's not a by the way. You're introducing a whole new concept. Just say blah, blah, blah. I don't say, by the way, ma'am, I'm going to put you on a brief hold. Like, no, that's not. And I get so irritated because that doesn't mean what they think it means. And I know it's just cultural, but I probably just have to calm the F down. That's what I have to do.
Right. One time I had called my credit card merchant processing company. It's one of those you have to reset your passwords, and then it's like, we think this is unauthorized. You have to call. And it's like, what's the point of the reset password button? Anyway, I call in, and maybe it was Filipino, but she was like, "Who are you?" I say, "Andrew Lacis." She's like, "And what's your role in the company?" I say, "I'm the owner." And she's like, "Oh, wow, I'm speaking to the actual owner." And like she didn't say it like patronizing. It was just like, this is so cool that like the owner is actually talking to her. So culture, they probably have the same thing about us. They're like these Americans, they're all like fat and stupid, and
Yeah,
everyone works long hours, and
yeah.
they
It's like,
don't have work-life balance or take siestas.
oh my gosh, so true. Literally, my employees were saying yesterday how we should be like Europeans and work 30 hours a week and take 2 months off in the summer. And I was like, okay, but first of all, bookkeepers and CPAs already take 2 to 3 weeks often to get back to people. You want to also only work. I mean, we have a company policy where you have to get back to people in one business day, but still, it was like, so now you want to, the stressed out CEO, you want to get back to them in 2 months after summer vacation. Like, how would we stay in business? And they were like, just, it would be nice. And I was like, okay, yeah, all right.
Right. Just figure it out. By the way, pay me also.
Yeah. But I'm like, listen, you can take a 2 hour nap in the middle of the day. You work from home. You can do whatever you want. You just have to bill 8 hours. So you could work from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. and take as many naps as you want. And they were like, that's not what we meant. We want you to get paid while we're napping. And I was like, I know you guys are just messing with me right now, but like seriously, take a 2 hour nap and then come back to work. I don't mind.
We had one employee, I'm pretty sure I've shared this story before, but Zoomer, his first real job ever, fresh out of college, and he asked for a 100% raise after working for 1 month. 100% wanted to be paid double to
Yeah.
more than his manager. And he was like, "Well, I went to college." And it's like, "Yeah, but you could barely do the job that I paid you to do." Funny thing, he actually ended up being a really good employee, but besides the point. So tangent to checkbox. So
Yeah, I can
reeling
tell
it
you some
back in.
stories about that. My employees, they ask for normal raises, but my South African team, the raises that they ask, and it's so funny, especially considering what minimum wage is in South Africa and what it costs, what the cost of living are compared to the US. When they when they first, like one of my team members, when he first started, a year later. I mean, he waited a year, but then he asked for, I think it was like a 500% increase because that's what US people are making. And I was kind of like, well, then I would hire someone in the US. Like, that's why I'm outsourcing this marketing so that I can, get it for it's
Do you-
where it's still really good money for you because it's way more. It's like, it was like 4x minimum wage, but I was like, but it's cheaper for me. So like there's like definitely a disconnect where sometimes when you ask someone, we're hiring, if you're hiring a foreign VA and you ask, okay, how much do you want to get paid? And they're like $30 an hour. And you're like, okay, well, I can pay you, $10 an hour. And they're like, okay, great. And you're like, what, huh? Because in the US, if someone asks for $30 an hour, then that's what they need to live, to pay their rent and stuff, not because they're like living, in Florida or California or somewhere, and then that's when they need to pay their rent. But like sometimes in other countries, they just ask for that because that's what they Google that US people are making for that. And you're like, because I feel rude if I come back to someone and say, well, I can pay you $10, but it's a different culture. So navigating that with my Jewish guilt trip inherent, feelings is hard for me, but I've kind of figured it out. Like that
yeah, well,
knowing that that's how they think.
Zoom also, I mean, COVID, everything changed, and Zoom and remote teams are way more widely accepted now than they were 5 years ago. But geo arbitrage back then, 2019, it was very like, oh, you're you're trusting that. And now it's like, well, people are people, and there's plenty of bad people in America who
Anywhere. Yeah.
like, if anything, my experience has been a lot more positive with people in other countries. We just have this US, well, we must be the best. And it's like, we're really entitled. And a lot of people do a horrible work and expect
To get
to
paid.
to be
Well, because
rewarded for
the
that.
cost of living is so high here. So you kind of like have to pay someone, a living wage, and $15 an hour in the US isn't a living wage. But the funny thing is, like, okay, so my entire team, all of my bookkeeping team and all of my client related people are all US. And the reason for that is because I had a hard time. I tried outsourcing once, but I had a hard time with communication, with getting like the level of quality that I wanted and on the bookkeeping and even like scheduling because they were on different schedules and then it was hard for me to understand them and that's a me problem, not a them problem. But I was like, if I can't understand them very well, how am I supposed to work with them? And then I don't know if I told you, but my hiring, whatever rigmarole that I go through process in order to hire someone for bookkeeping is really intense because I need really good bookkeepers. So if I'm going to an outsourced firm for bookkeeping and they don't allow me to do my entire testing process, I mean, there's already, I feel like it's already hard to find good bookkeepers in the US that know, basic tax law, that know QuickBooks really well, that know how to deal with, because there's a lot of people, sorry, I'm like talking over myself. There's a lot of people who know how to do AR or they know how to do AP or they know how to do parts of things. But to have like a well-rounded, know how to do everything you need to do in order to help clients that have their own companies is a skill that not a lot of people have, even though they might think that they have it. They don't know how to handle all of the things and how everything connects, right? So the testing that I put them through is insane. And then the review process that we have is also crazy. So if I try to hire a team outside the US who I can't put through my testing process, and I can only really put through my review process, it's so hard. And they're not, it's not that they're bad. I'm just not able to test them. So I don't know what I'm going to get. And especially on the ones where you don't know even who you're going to get. And I was just like, cool, I can't outsource the bookkeeping. I tried, it's not happening. All of my bookkeepers, customer service, all that is in the US. The only thing I can outsource is like marketing and administrative help that's internal. So that's kind of how I have it. So I'm not like, oh, I only want US people because the US is best, but because I have to, because the scheduling, the communication, and the quality that I need as far as like the skill level that I have to be able to test myself, that's the only way I've been able to do it.
And I'm sure that was over a long period of time. It wasn't your first, here's how I am going to hire someone off the rip, because I know
Oh,
when I started hiring people, it was like, you must be good at your job. And it was like, how do you not know how to do anything? You said you knew how to do everything. You
yeah.
clearly don't know. So is there a
Yeah.
story behind where
Oh my
where
God. I
this
mean, yeah.
happened?
So, I mean, in the first, I was really lucky a few times and found a couple of great people, just, I don't know, by luck, I think. And then one time I hired someone who said they were, full charge bookkeeper, which that's supposed to mean someone who knows how to do everything, right? And I go, great. And I handed her, I gave her access to a set of books. It was a cleanup catch up project. And I said, okay, great. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you're a skilled bookkeeper, that's all you need. It's like, here's the books. And you go, great. And you start. And she goes, so, I know how to do this, but just out of curiosity, like, what do you think I should do first? And I was like, what what do you mean? What should you do first? Like, there's only a certain, I mean, I was like, maybe, you could be like, well, I'm going to clean up the AR first before I do the categorization or something. But generally speaking, you start categorizing first. you could be like, okay, I'm going to clean up the AR and AP first. But honestly, like it would make most sense to categorize first. And that's what 99% of people would do first, because then you can match any payments that are in the bank feed, any bill payments, right? So I was kind of like, what do you mean by that? And she was like, well, like I know how to do this. Just what do you want me to do first? And I was too shocked to think that she really didn't know what she was doing. So I said, okay, categorize first. She goes, okay. So she starts categorizing. And this was before I had employees, when it was still, she was a contractor. And so she starts categorizing, and then she's like, okay, I'm done. And then I go and look at it, and it doesn't have any vendor names. And the categories were a little weird. And so and this was before QuickBooks had an easy way to add vendor names after the fact. So back then, in order to fix missing vendor names, you had to go and click on each transaction and add the vendor name. So I said to her, you're missing all the vendor names. And she's like, oh. So I said, please go back in and put the vendor names in. She said, okay. And then I had to tell her that about 2 more times because she was still missing some. And then it was like, well, what do you want me to do next? And I was like, now you reconcile. And then I realized she doesn't know anything. So then I started asking her, I was like, so you said you're a full charge bookkeeper with QBO experience. Why do you not know this? And I've been told many times I'm not supposed to ask why on questions, because apparently it makes people feel bad. And so I have to ask better questions like, what was the process that got you to this point? Or how, so I'm really working on it hard, but my first question is usually like, why? And I've been told I'm not allowed to ask that. So I try. But this was also years ago. So I'm pretty sure I said, why do you not know this? And then she explains to me, well, I'm a full charge bookkeeper, but I worked in-house for one company and I just did whatever the CPA told me. And I said, okay. And then I had her, read my training, or I told her, whatever. So since that point, I realized that just people saying they're a full charge bookkeeper doesn't mean they're a full charge bookkeeper. It might even mean they think they are. But when the rubber meets the road, they don't actually really know what they're doing. They just know parts of it. So, and that's not really how my company is set up. So then we made, and one time I hired a lady, super great lady, but had only done bookkeeping in another country by hand. So she wasn't really good on computers. So I was like, what is going on? Why is everything taking so long? Because she knew how to do it. So I watched her one day answering an email because we were doing a screen share and I was helping her how to handle the client's requests. And I was like, wow, she is typing so slow. So I had everyone in my company, so as not to discriminate, do a typing test, and found out she typed like 17 words per minute. And I said, okay, that could be a problem. I now have to implement typing tests into my hiring process, because that's not something that I would think, because you don't need to be like 90 words per minute speed typer. I think my minimum is like something like 40 words per minute. Like if you type at least 40 words per minute, you're going to be fine. But if you're less than 40 words per minute, it's going to be hard for us. I think it's 40. I wrote it. I wrote it down. It's in my company policy. But so stuff like that I had to learn. So now it's like we do an IQ test, a typing test. I have the application form is practically a written test. And the funny thing about the application form is it asks you questions like, when does a 1099 NEC due? And how do you do a blah, blah, blah in QuickBooks? And to me, it's an open book test. So I'm like, if somebody doesn't know the answer and they Google it and then they write the answer, I'm happy, because I'm like, now they're showing that they have the skill of figuring it out, which you need a lot of in bookkeeping. So when somebody says, I don't know, or this is too advanced for me, I'm like, you could have just looked it up. Okay. So they have to fill that out. They have to do IQ, a typing test. Then they interview with HR. Then And they do a tech test because we found out there were some people who were good at bookkeeping, but not good with computers. And we are all remote. And so you have to be able to log into the task management software and email and Zoom. And, some people had a hard time with that. So they did that. Then after that, I created a bookkeeping test in QuickBooks Online that basically has 2 months of bookkeeping. And they have to reconcile, they have to add invoices, they have to do an opening balance journal, all these different things. And so, and they have to do it fast enough that it makes sense. Because if they take 5 hours on something that I know should take 2 hours, I'm not going to be able to bill for that. They have to pass that. And then, just in case their mother-in-law did it for them, I do a tech test in QuickBooks Online if they pass that test and basically go, okay, open a P&L, enter an invoice, all based on experience. And then we still have a full-time quality review person who reviews all the work. And there's even more things that we do. And all learned by experience and by mistakes of having been doing this for 6 years. And people not having the skill level. There's not like a school for bookkeeping, so accountants aren't even often good at bookkeeping. So you have to, anyways, it's a whole thing. And most of the people that take my tests don't pass them.
It's interesting how a lot of the processes and things that are put in place when you start the journey in entrepreneurship, where a lot of people, at least my experience was, I'm really good at tech, therefore I should own a tech company. And like when I cook steaks, people are like, "Oh, you should open a restaurant." It's like that's a horrible, horrible idea. Like just because I make good food does not make me someone that should open a restaurant. That means that I should cook at home and like friends can
Yeah.
enjoy it, but you learn as you go along that a lot of running a business really doesn't have a lot to do with the actual thing that you're selling, but actually running the business and how many iterations and failures go into the learning experiences that sort of shape us and the reasons
Yeah.
we do things the way we do. Like we have automated AR, and the reason for it is we used to not have automated AR, and somebody skipped town with $40,000 in AR. So I paid a
Wow.
college education to learn that I prefer having payment on file. And, if there's a dispute of some sort, I mean, you're welcome to go to your bank. And if I can't substantiate that I did the work that I said that I did, your bank will protect you. If
Yeah.
actually committed fraud, then you'd get it back and I would lose the ability to collect payments. But, some people up front are like, well, I don't want to have payment on file. Can I just write you a check?
And you're
And
like, nope.
initially we did have that where it was, "Okay, we'll make the exception. You seem like a straight shooter." And we've made the exception 3 times, and each time some sort of, well, the money was deducted from my account, so I paid you. And it's like, well, I'm looking in the mailbox and it never arrived. So what matters most to us was that we were paid. And I know that it's upsetting for you. I can understand where you're coming from, that it had been taken out of your account when you did bill pay.
Right.
However, the issue that we're facing is you can show me that it was paid, but if I didn't receive it, you know what a perfect solution to this would be? If you just did the auto pay, there's a there's a trail.
Yeah, the
There's
ACH.
yeah,
I know.
it's
But also think about this. Like, remember when you started your company, you were like, that is what you did. You said, I mean, at least for me, I said, I'm really good at steaks. I'm going to start a steak company. And then, like you said, then you start realizing that it doesn't have, like, it does have to do with being good at steaks because I'm going to review and I'm going to make sure my clients are all happy with my steak. But it has a lot to do with sales and marketing and hiring and managing people. But imagine if we weren't so naive and, optimistic. There would be no business owners. If we knew everything we didn't know when we started the company, if we knew the uphill journey and all the things we were going to have to learn and all the mistakes we were going to have to make and the blood, sweat, and literal tears that would go into it, we probably wouldn't have started it.
That's so true. When I
Right?
started, I remember thinking to myself, it's never as easy as it looks. I anticipate that it will be twice as hard as it looks. And it's like 500 times harder, not to mention the company that
Yeah,
I was at before went out of business. So even if I had emulated what I saw from someone else, it wasn't even an emulation of somebody that had succeeded in it, and he probably saw, well, this person was doing it, how hard can it be? And you
yeah,
you learn so much. And like you had pointed to, having like geo arbitrage, right? Hiring somebody in a different country because the currency exchange is favorable for where we live. They're not talking about that. Well, tell me about your bookkeeping firm. It's like, well, first things first, I'm going to look into marketing in other countries and utilizing an exchange that is beneficiary to me where I can pay my employees well. And on our side, it doesn't hurt the bottom line nearly as much. So I am paying less, receiving the same quality, and learning that you can't do that with every single piece of it. Some pieces, like marketing, for instance, it's a lot less stakes involved too. So we're going the other version of stakes, right?
yeah,
There's there's a lot less at risk. Like if the marketing doesn't go the way that you had hoped it went, pretty much at the end of the day, it'll be money that you spent that didn't go anywhere, and that's unfortunate.
yeah.
But it usually
Which
won't
just
be.
happens with me when I've hired US marketing companies
Mm,
way more than when I said, hey, can you post on Facebook 4 times a day for me to my guy in South Africa, you know?
oh my gosh. When
Yeah, I've
I
spent
did
so
the
much
math,
money.
until I just rolled up my sleeves and made that my where I put all my attention in marketing. I had spent at least at a minimum $500,000 in ad spend or hiring a marketing genius certified, whether it was a
Yeah,
full-time person that wanted, because when COVID happened, that was when we hired our first full-time marketer, right? Everybody had just lost their job. And so I put the job post on wherever it was, ZipRecruiter or something, and the title was Director of Strategic Marketing. It didn't really mean anything. It was just marketing guy.
yeah.
And so the applicants I got, because everyone just lost their job, for director of strategic marketing, I
They're
had
like, worked at
received.
Apple for 10 years, worked
I
at Google for 30
Yes,
years, and you're like,
yes,
whoa, yeah.
the director of strategic marketing from Disney, who just lost his job, applied. From Ralph
Wow.
Lauren had applied. From Bank of America had applied. Like these people at gigantic companies, and it's like
And
at
they
the
wanted
time
300,000 a year.
plus like a million in ad spend as well. And it was like at the time we did like 1 maybe 2 million the prior year, and it
Yeah.
was like I can't afford you to even start doing what you did. And then the person that we hired, blah blah blah, flown out to conferences, speaks on all this stuff, accomplished. We got in 9 months, I think, one deal that materialized from what he was doing. However, he taught me a lot of fundamentals, and really, it was just one lever that he was I was saying, "It seems like our lead form is very long. Should we shorten it?" He's like, "No, we need all that information." So when I fired him, I shortened it, and then we got a ton of leads that day. I was like, "Oh,
That is
thanks."
so funny. Sometimes marketing people, well, also marketing is such a broad term, right? Like just like if you said money people, there's insurance people, investing people, bookkeeping people, tax planners, so it's such a broad thing. So it's like as a business owner, you think that the marketing people are on the same page as you as far as like marketing is to give me leads, but they're not. They're on like branding and they're on this and that. And so it's always tough. And like you said, when I started my company, I was like, well, I'm smarter than all these business owners that I've worked for in-house as their bookkeeper or their, manager of accounting or whatever. And I was smarter than all of them in that area. But most of them knew way more than me on hiring, marketing, sales, management. And then once I was in business for myself, I was like, oh, yeah, bookkeeping. Business owners are not good at bookkeeping and finances generally. That's why I have a successful company because that's not their skill set. But they have so many other skill sets that I didn't have at all. And that's what I had to learn. And it was quite a journey. And that's why, like most bookkeepers that I've talked to who have started their own business, because it's really popular in the last few years, like, especially since it's been, COVID and work from home, start your own bookkeeping, get your own clients, do this class. A lot of people have done that. And then they go, I realize I don't want to do sales and marketing. It's hard. And I'm like, yeah, come work for me. Don't do sales and marketing. I'll do it for you. You have a full-time job. And they're like, okay. So it's a different skill set and it takes grit and persistence. And it takes, it's like you're not going to wake up every day motivated. Sometimes you wake up and you feel like not like dog doo doo and you get up and you do it anyways because you've committed and you're doing it. And you kind of go, people are relying on me. I have employees whose payroll relies on me. Their lives rely on me. I have clients and companies who rely on me. And that's why I'm doing this. And I won't fail if I don't give up. But it's not always easy. Like, you piss someone off and they threaten you and they yell at you and you kind of go, what am I even doing? You get that imposter syndrome. Do I even know what I'm doing? Am I just making this up as I go? It's like, and it takes me a few days and then I go, okay, no, I'm fine. I do still know what I'm doing. But so it's not easy, but I don't want to discourage people. I think if you have like grit and persistence and it's going to be way harder than you think, but it can also be way more rewarding than, than having a job. And if you put in a few years of hard work, it's not overnight, like, those memes where it's like, okay, I didn't want to work 40 hours a week, so I started my own business. Yeah, now you're going to work 100 hours a week. But as long as you go in knowing it's going to be harder than you think, then you can make some good money and make some positive impact on the world and all these things. And if you weren't, naive and optimistic when you started, you have to be a little bit naive and optimistic or else it sounds too scary and hard.
I think that's a really good point. Like entrepreneurship, it looks so good, especially on social media. The people that are
With the
saying,
flashy cars and the
right,
I work 2 hours a week baloney, or like,
yeah, and I make $10 million an hour because I can sell high ticket coaching. And I was
or
part of
I
the
own vending machines.
right. And when I was part of, and I did get a lot of skills from it, don't get me wrong, but I was part of the John Maxwell team, and a lot of what they taught, it was high ticket coaching and high ticket speaking engagements and things like that. And it's like, look, all you got to do is this, that, and the other. And then people are going to pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to do consulting because you are certified with this thing. And like in the John Maxwell community, everybody is like super stoked on that. But then you go into the real world and it's like, hello, I would like $100,000 for consulting. I have a certification from the John Maxwell team. And they're like, I don't know what that means. How are you charging 100? Where's the value? And it's like, but I have a certificate.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the rest of the world's like, I don't care. I need some value. What
yeah.
how do I
And especially if it's a consultant or a marketing person, I want to know my ROI. I want to know, have you built other businesses to over $1 million? Have you built your own business to over $1 million? If you're such a pro marketing person, how much does your company make? And then they're like, well, I just started last week. And I'm like, then you should probably work for free until you build up or work for minimum until you build up a portfolio, because I have wasted so much money on marketing. Like you said, I don't know if it's 500,000, but I mean, I've spent over 100,000, way over, but wasted definitely tens of thousands of dollars, that didn't result in anything. And it's like, well, why are you asking me for all this money if you can't tell me my ROI and you've never done it before? How does that give me confidence to pay you all this money?
Right. And ask a marketer for some sort of guarantee. Oh, well, I can't guarantee. What if you can't close the deals? It's like, how about a guarantee on the opportunities that are even kind of making any sort of sense? Well, I can't do that. The algorithm, it's not about the lag measures, it's about the lead measures, and I have to put
I read
in
that
all
book
this.
too.
Oh, yeah. And so it's like, yeah, and like I said, I'm very good at marketing IT services to small accounting firms, right? I'm very good at that very, very, very specific thing to where if somebody hired me as a marketing person, I could put a I could put a guarantee on it because I've done it for 5 years and it's that very, very, very micro thing. And I had tried transcending it. I was like, my sister-in-law is an artist and I was like, "Let me just do the strategies for you. You'll make a ton of money. Just let me do it. You've got that in place. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, yeah. I'm not going to guarantee and bet my children's life on this, but it is going to work." And it just flopped.
Because it wasn't
So,
the same market. Yeah,
mhm.
exactly. I know how to market and sell bookkeeping, but those salespeople are like, sell me this pen. Like, I don't, do you need a pen? Because I sell bookkeeping to business owners who need bookkeeping. Do you need a pen? You don't need a pen? Okay. And I'm not like a salesperson, but I'm pretty good at selling bookkeeping because I can show them that I can fulfill what they need.
And you don't get to grow a company as much as you have without actually being able to fulfill and put your metaphorical and literal money where your mouth is. And that's really one of the underlying things of entrepreneurship, and not just in the bookkeeping accounting industry but in general. Being able to back it up, do what you say you're going to do, have integrity, show up when you don't want to show up. And it's all part of learning experiences. And I want to be conscious of your time because I feel like we're going to go on. I mean, when we met at scaling, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm about to head out, and then like 2 hours later, just like,
I know
yeah,
it's fun though. I know we could do like three more podcasts on different subjects and be like, we could just talk forever. It's true.
yeah, well,
And really, like, like, just to what you were saying, part of what I deliver to, the companies that hire us, is my mission statement for my company is complete and perfect financial records for the business owner's peace of mind. And that's what I'm trying to deliver to them. And I think I do a pretty damn good job because I have a lot of clients. We have almost 150 companies we do bookkeeping for, and they're all really happy. I've got tons of reviews and testimonials. So, like you said, I think I do put my money where my mouth is, and I've been told I'm obsessed with the customer experience, and I kind of go, yeah, no, that's true, I am. And I really want them to have peace of mind, and that's hard in the bookkeeping, accounting, tax world, but I think I do a pretty good job.
well, I think so as well. And I'm sure people listening to this, especially clients, can attest to that. So, Maya, where can people find you online?
So my website is solvencynow.com. You can also email me, maya@solvencynow.com. And those get answered within one business day because I'm very obsessed with the customer experience, as we said. So yeah, we have like contact forms. Also, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube. And I have a podcast which Andrew's going to be on at some point soon. And my podcast is apparently everywhere, which I didn't even know about. My podcast is called The Bottom Line. So yeah, my podcast person has got, I'm on Spotify. I'm like a published podcast person. So yeah, but you can find me on any of those, either under Maya Weinreb or Solvency Now Bookkeeping. And again, solvencynow.com or maya@solvencynow.com, or send a smoke signal. I'll probably find you.
Yeah, just put some sticks together on an island. She's everywhere. She'll figure it out.
Yeah, say I need bookkeeping on anywhere on Facebook, and probably someone will tag me.
Yeah, your spidey senses start tingling. Somebody needs
Mhm,
bookkeeping. Maya to the
mhm.
rescue. Yeah. Well, Maya, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. Guys, be sure to check out Maya. Until next time, thanks for listening to the Tech Talk for Accountants show.
Thank you so much for having me.